Namaste and welcome. Today it is my honor to introduce to the Lokvani audience actually a very familiar member in the community, Srimati Aparna Balaji. Aparna is a Boston-based musician, Carnatic musician, performer, teacher, and composer, and she is the founder director of Abhyaas School of Music, which has produced so many phenomenal students, and she is responsible for keeping Carnatic music alive and well among the second generation. And she is actually the daughter of the legendary Sangeetha Choodamani Sri O.S. Thiagarajan, who, of course, came from very traditional root. He was a wonderful teacher, a successful performer, a recipient of many awards and accolades, and proud participants of many national and international music festivals for over 4 decades. For those of us who are Carnatic music aficionados, we know that when O.S. Thiagarajan's concert is there, it's going to be a fantastic, successful concert. So Aparna is here to talk about her father, who unfortunately the world of Carnatic music lost in December. Aparna, thank you so much for talking to Lokvani about your father. Namaste.
Namaste, Ranjani. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure, really. And I think the entire Carnatic music world is feeling the loss of your amazing father. And I'd like to start just with asking. I mean, it's rare that I get to talk to somebody who has spent their entire life with the legendary musician. What was his approach to music? What made it so amazing, in your opinion?
To me, approach to life in general is greatly what we learn to appreciate. So he was brought up in the north in New Delhi, and he was greatly influenced and inspired by North Indian music. And he was, of course, introduced to South Indian music by his own father, Sangeetha Acharya, Sri O.V. Subramanian. So he had the foundation of Carnatic music and a lot of influence and inspiration from the North Indian music. And he also learned to appreciate good music, wherever he learned, he saw. So when he came down to South in the early 1980s, he was also introduced to the Tamil movie industry music, especially by, Maestro Ilayaraja. He was a great fan of Ilayaraja sir, and who is not, right? So I would say his approach to music in general was something that he learned to appreciate, and I also see that he also learned to bring a fine balance or a blend of the different genres that he was introduced to.
Interesting, interesting. I did not realize the influences of other, music styles in his life. And it is really phenomenal to hear the respect and awe that he has had for other music styles and how he used some of that to make his own presentation so unique, so innovative. So do you think some of the innovations, I mean, he's known to be absolutely innovative, while of course sticking very much to the Carnatic framework. So where do you think that innovation comes from? Do you think it is from these different influences? And how did he approach that balance between innovation while sticking to the framework of Carnatic music?
Um, I would like to actually change the term innovation to discovery.
Okay.
Because I have been, taught by my teachers that none of us are creating or innovating anything especially when it comes to fine arts, which is, we believe that it has divine origins. So to approach it from that aspect, I would say that he discovered quite a lot of interesting, aspects of Carnatic music, interesting contributions of different composers across centuries. So I would say that whatever he contributed had a large, part to be, it has a large impact from what he was discovered, what he discovered in his learning, in his analyzing, in his performing, and everything. So every aspect that he discovered, I think it became one of his contributions.
Yeah.
The most important was, as I mentioned, finding a balance of the different things that you are introduced to,
Yeah.
not leaving the good aspect of anything that you have been introduced to. That is one of the biggest strengths I've seen in my father, and I would also consider it to be one of his biggest contributions.
Oh, wow. So every time you have heard it, is there an example that comes to mind to you, by the way, that you can think of? Was there a concert, especially, or a composition that comes to mind?
Yes. I don't have any particular concert in mind, but from my experience, of watching him being inspired,
Yeah.
I have seen him listen to musicians like Nedanuri Krishnamurti, K.V. Narayanaswamy, so many stalwarts of the past, and I have seen him listen to them on radio every single night, and he would mention it when he was teaching in class. He would mention it to his students. By the way, I was listening to this last night. I cannot imagine how somebody can come up with an idea like this. I cannot imagine that these swaras can be constructed this way for this particular raga. So there were so many things that he was very keenly observant about, and he very nicely brought it into his own concerts.
Amazing.
Um, I have seen in my experience of watching him
Yeah.
grow as a musician. I have seen him take different aspects, different highlighting aspects of each musician that he was inspired by. For example, K.V. Narayanaswamy, K.V. and Mama, we call him so dearly. K.V. Mama's Nereval, the approach to a couple of lines and how you improvise the melody, that's called Nereval. And that was unparalleled. And my father used to tell nobody can sing Nereval like him. And of course, he had many inputs from his own teachers and his own peers. But he would say that if you want to learn to sing Nereval, you need to listen to KVN. If you
Wow.
want to stick to the traditional Pathantaram, you should listen to Musari Subramanya Iyer or D.K. Patamal. If you want to follow the path of divine music, you should listen to M.S. Subbalakshmi. So he was, I have been analyzing it with the input of my father, and it has been,
Yeah.
precise. And I'm very thankful for
Yeah.
him bringing those, highlighting and bringing out those different aspects of those musicians. And I also saw how he blended it in his own concerts.
That's really fantastic. That means he could really understand the strength of each musician and the uniqueness and learn from that. But I was just curious. So basically, you said he grew up in Delhi, and his father was a musician. Was his father a full-time musician? And what was, and also, do you know anything about what your father was like as a student?
My grandfather was a student in Annamalai University, and he did the Sangeetha Bhushanam course.
Oh.
And then he later migrated to New Delhi to, of course, meet ends and establish himself as a musician there. And he had a very big school there. And he was more into teaching and sharing than into performing. And that was, that's the foundation for all of my grandfather's children. And every one of them sings very well, by the way. All of them are very established musicians in different genres.
Yeah.
And my father, saw how happy my grandfather was to share music and how passionate he was to keep up with it. Even though he went to Delhi, he could have chosen a different profession. If money was the ultimate goal, he could have done n number of things. but he stuck to the tradition, he stuck to his values, and he made a profession out of music, which was not yielding much, back then. But he still was very passionate about it. I think my father was greatly influenced,
Yeah.
with that aspect, and as a student. And I have also seen that the thirst to learn never went away in my father. He was always a student to me. I saw that in him, and that's another thing I'm greatly inspired by. Even a month before he passed away, he sent a message to me saying, I learned this new kriti from Maladi brothers, sings so beautifully. I'm going to learn it and I'm going to teach it to my students. So he was always, wanting to learn and wanting to be a student
Wow.
despite his successful, musical career.
And I think Maladi brothers are much junior to him, right? Am I right about that? Or younger
Yes,
than
I
him?
mean,
Okay.
yes,
No,
age wise, yes, but my father never
yeah,
saw anybody as a junior or a senior. I have seen him appreciate music with all age groups.
that's amazing.
So yeah, that's something that it's
Yeah.
very striking about him. He was able to appreciate and discuss music with just about any age group.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that's what I've heard. I mean, when I was reading about him, that he was a tremendous mentor and always encouraged young people. Is that correct? I mean, I think he took that role a little seriously.
Yes.
Any
Yes.
thoughts on that? Anybody that comes to mind that, I know many people, but anybody that, of course, you yourself, but are there other people that come to mind who he served as a mentor for?
Many of his, senior students, of course, and many, upcoming accompanying artists, so many of them. My own violin sir, Sri Vittal Ramamurthy, my violin teacher, Sri Vittal Ramamurthy sir. My father greatly encouraged him and greatly appreciated his music. And he performed with him many times and gave him a lot of opportunities to explore. And, I've seen many such artists,
Yeah.
and they all came to our house. They all shared their story of how my father had helped them come up in music. So it's a blessing.
Blessing. So if he saw talent, he felt it was important to encourage it, it sounds
Yeah.
like. Uh,
More so, he felt responsible to encourage them.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
He took upon himself to do that. Now,
Yeah.
your father actually, I mean, was in Delhi, but decided to move back to Madras. I mean, your grandfather moved to Delhi, and then, so what motivated that transition?
His
Oh,
siblings were they are still very proud of my father, his talent, and his musical prowess, so to say.
uh,
So they felt strongly about my father moving to Chennai and establishing himself as a musician there, because at the end of the day, Chennai is the hub for Carnatic music.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So everybody was, strongly suggesting him to, persuading him and suggesting him to move to Chennai. And, some of his cousins, extended cousins, even got him a job in Chennai so that he could initially shift and then he could explore,
Uh,
other avenues to come
yeah.
up in music.
And I think it was a good decision because it really, gave him the right opportunities to
Yes.
shine,
One
So
of the best decisions he made, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
again, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, you are, the daughter of such a great musician, the granddaughter of such a great musician. What was it like? I mean, was it hard growing up in this family, or what would you describe that experience to be?
Um, Being the daughter of such a great musician has had an impact, influence, and inspiration in my life.
Hmm.
So the impact it had was that he was always very busy, right from the get go, right from our early childhood days in Chennai when we moved down. We would never see him in the house. It was always like he would go to work and then come home, quickly shower, and go practice with his peers. So we have never really had the leisure or the time to spend with him, communicate with him, or even talk about, I was always interested in music right from my very young age. And I wanted to talk a lot to him about, the intricacies of music, because it really drew me, but I never had the time. I never got the opportunity to do it with him. He was never available. Even if he was at home, he was always occupied with, conversations about music to somebody or the other.
Yeah.
So that was an impact, as a child, that I felt like, there was always a distance between us and him, and our mother was the mediator. Always, she was, she sacrificed a lot to support my father, and she completely took care of us. So we felt very distant from him. That was the impact of being the daughter of such a talented musician. Initially it was more about the talent, because he wasn't a successful musician, in the early
Yeah.
80s,
Yeah.
but he was a very, very, very sought after music peer.
Mm.
And the influence that he has had, influence is mostly subconscious, right? You are around, such a wonderful artist. So I'm greatly influenced by the way he, constructs his concerts, by the way he interacts with musicians. I'm also greatly influenced by, the way he works, and things like that. Of course, his approach to music is one of the biggest influence I've had, subconsciously, because there has been so much that has gone into me without even realizing, which I am, coming to realize when I'm teaching to all
Right.
the students. So
But I wonder about the fact, like, I mean, he's so great, right? Do you ever feel like you're competing, or like you're feeling like, when you have such a great father, right? Like and you are an incredible musician yourself. So I was wondering how you felt with that, a little bit.
good question. Along with the inspiration, there was a lot of intimidation.
Ah, okay.
Uh, I was surrounded by star musicians in the
Ah,
family, and I'm not a very natural musician, to be honest.
wow.
I was inspired and interested, but it didn't come that naturally to me as it did to my cousins and my siblings. They were
Really?
they were just able to connect with it so easily, and I had to like really work my way through it every class. So even today, I feel like, it's a struggle, and I'm in it because I'm just so interested in it.
Wow.
But the fact is that I never felt uh, that I was competing against anybody. So when you feel that you have to compete, that is when you are more afraid to explore, right? So I've always been inspired. I tell myself that I'm here to do my best, try out a few things. If it works, it does. If it doesn't, I just keep trying in different ways. So looking at all these musicians, I was at awe, and to sing in front of them, I was quite intimidated and afraid. Even to sing in front of my grandfather, if he ever came to my concerts, I was very nervous.
Yeah.
But I always felt like, I'm not here to match who they are. I'm here to just, continue to do what I'm given with and blessed with. And in my own ways, I can, explore, and in certain ways it'll come out through me.
That's
So
fantastic. I can't even believe you saying that you're not a natural because you're such a brilliant musician that actually that's an inspiration for students now to know that, sometimes you may not be a natural, but you just have to work hard and the passion will take you there. So, wow, that's a very, very amazing comment. I wanted to ask you, one of the things about your father is that everybody always says that every one of his concerts is a success. And what do you think? I mean, because people go to concerts and some days "Inniki nanna illa," or it was not good today, but never people talked about that about your father. What do you think was the secret sauce there?
uh, very interesting question again. Of course, everybody knows, any concert of my father's was always a success, and anybody I talked to has mentioned this at least once to me. I would say that the energy level that he maintained in the concert was the secret sauce. And the way to, I mean, he said it so to me when I started to perform in back in 1997, 98. He told me that make sure there are no dull moments in the concert.
Ah,
That is one thing he has ever told me. He never said anything else until today. He has never said anything else to me. He said,
wow.
make sure there is no dull moment in your concert. And from that comment and analyzing his concerts, I would say that the secret sauce was in him experiencing the music at a high energy and sharing it at the same level of energy to the audience. Like for example, I've seen many people mention that he packs his concert with like a few kritis, in the beginning to gain momentum.
Yeah.
Instead of settling into something mellow or something, he just had like a high vibrant ragam coming in the beginning, which sets the pace and the mood for the concert. And from there, I think he drew energy from it and he was able to pass that energy to the audience.
Yeah.
To
That,
me, that's basically it. And he was always sticking to tradition. He never deviated from the traditional way of presenting it.
yeah.
And also, I think he never recalibrated the quality of his music according to the audience.
Interesting.
Even if it was just 10 people, he would sing the same way as though it is a packed
Wow.
audience of 1,000. So that I think that is the secret sauce.
Wow. Wow. So his commitment to his music and the energy, again, at the end of the day, I think that is what musicians do, right? Pass energy back and forth. So beautiful
Exactly,
comment. I
exactly.
love it. I love it. Of course, we've been talking a lot about the amazing father that you have had, but we also discussed earlier, there was a moment that was very difficult for you, and that was when your father's name surfaced in the Me Too movement. How did you feel and handle that situation?
Um, um, Thank you for asking that question. It was indeed a very challenging situation to handle. I have utmost respect and love for my father and his music. But I also had to think about the situation as a woman and a mother. And my role and responsibility was suddenly a whole lot more than just a daughter. I am not going to question the allegations. I'm not here to disregard any of the experiences of those women and many others who shared their experiences in other situations. At the same time, I'm also not here to teach anybody or judge anyone. Um, I felt like I'm here to learn and improve as a human being on a daily basis. Also, history has taught as the as that the greatest of people have made mistakes, uh, and that's because after all we're all just imperfect humans. um, in many ways, we are imperfect. So I just wanted to let it pass and be distant from it. Um, of course, it was very painful, but when we face the pain and fears in life with utmost honesty, the impact is drastically reduced. That's that's my humble opinion.
Interesting, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's much learning in what you said, because any situation at the end of the day should be a learning for us. And I think it is so wonderful that you actually introspected and brought out some learnings that you are sharing with everybody today. So thank you for that. Really, really, and I think that's the greatness of the parenting that you have received. I mean, this is not easy. I mean, sometimes I do think, that we take credit or debit on ourselves, right? Whether we are good or bad, it is all comes from, of course, God's grace. That moment that we can slip and fall in a moment, we can stand up and shine in a moment, and that is all God's grace. And I think situations like this tell us to be humble and to think about that, and also grateful to parents who have given you such values. So no, I mean that's really interesting that beyond from your grandfather, now you are a great teacher. There is always, he was an amazing teacher, and that thing has really come down all the way to you. What did you learn from your grandfather and your father that motivated you to start a school in that too in America, very distant from where you grew up, where Carnatic music is?
Um, I finished my undergrad in 1999, and that is when I also cut my first album. So I think my family saw that I was really into music. We did try a few other things, by the way. I did try dance, I did try violin, and
Ah.
Veena for a very brief period of time. None of it really stuck with me. I think they gave up on me than me giving up on them. So the only thing that has not given up on me is music, in my opinion. So I took to music. I was interested in music, and I was trying to be a singer for forever now. And with that mindset, when I got married, my grandfather told me there are many doctors, many philosophers, many that we don't have many musicians, especially now that you're going to a different country. Music is something that you should never give up. So that was his advice to me, and his few words of wisdom
Yeah.
that I really cherish even today. uh, so as soon as I came here, it was a fresh start. The only thing I had was the tag of being the granddaughter and daughter of
Yeah.
such great musicians. So I had to completely learn to be a musician and learn to be a teacher in a different country. And to my luck, I saw that there are very established musicians and dancers in this place. So it was very inspiring for me to, start fresh. And I was greatly encouraged by everybody. I was welcomed and greatly encouraged by everybody. And it started very small. And I think what has kept me going is what I'm inspired by my father. Being passionate about music.
Mhm.
So I think that's what has kept me going. I've had ups and downs. I've had all kinds of experiences. You say life is a full circle because you go experience the highs and the lows, and then you come to a point where you treat both of them neutrally. That's when the circle is full. So to me, that's where I'm headed, in my opinion, and that's what I would like for. And the journey of being a musician, the journey of being a teacher, the journey of being a performer, everything is just the journey of my life.
Wow.
So it's never separate from my life, from what I am.
That's so beautiful. I think for you that all processes seems to be spiritually enlightening, and you seem to be on a path, and it's really inspiring to hear that, Aparna. God bless you. Have you ever really learned directly from your father?
Just very few times, that too, along with my cousins and
Oh.
my uncle O.S. Arun, because he always, felt they were very good, and he shared music with them. And I just happened to be, benefiting from that. I used to sit in class with
Oh.
them and, just pretend to learn along with them. I'm greatly inspired by many musicians in the family. Many of my cousins sing so beautifully. So even today, I'm like, at awe of them and how they have flourished so well in music. But I did feel that I never learned directly from my father a lot. And I used to sit inside while he was teaching his students in the living room. I used to sit inside and write down the notes and, listen and just learn it and explore it later. That was my learning from my father.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. By the way, O.S. Arun, again, one of my favorite musicians. I love his dance support. Oh my God. So many,
Yeah,
well, your whole family is inspirational. And maybe we'll talk about all of them at some other point.
absolutely.
Each one of those is wonderful. So, but so what would you say? I mean, but I have seen him come here and support you with Abhyaas. So, what has been his contributions and impact on your school, you think?
Um, First of all, he's very, very proud of our school Abhyas here and the other schools. He's always, very keen in observing, which state in the US has good music, and he used to tell Massachusetts is one of the states where there is like, it is so rich in culture and tradition. So he was very proud and happy that we established Abhyas
Mm.
in Massachusetts. And he started to come more regularly from the year 2006. So 2006 was the first year I did like an annual day in a smallish way,
Yeah.
and he was there for that. And he greatly encouraged all the students, and he was telling everybody that they have to keep up with their practice, their learning, and performing. So these are the three very important things he was particular about, and his contributions to the school is like in many ways. He has taught many classes, he has done many workshops, he's done leg dems, and then he has given concerts, in Massachusetts many times, so that my students could watch him in person and be inspired. So he just kept telling that learning, practicing, and performing are three important things that you should never, stop doing. So, and he highlighted the aspect of each of it for the long run, the sustainability. He highlighted that in many occasions, and he was very generous in appreciating students and the musicians in general. So all my students felt, oh, ST Tata, he never yells at me. He's so encouraging and he says nice things about me when I'm singing and things like this. So that positivity is what he has contributed a lot to my students. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah. Did he
Yeah.
ever yell at you for your music or anything? Was there any yelling ever when you were a child? No, never.
He has never yelled at me.
Wow,
Ever.
wow. He seems that
Yeah,
type of a person.
especially after getting married and coming here, I have never seen him be mad at me, or be disappointed in me or displeased with me in any way. Again, it goes to the upbringing. You know, I I think I am influenced by both my parents in trying to see the bright side of everything and everybody, and that has kept me going because after all we are all imperfect in many ways.
Of course.
So the one thing that really keeps me going is trying to see the bright side and try to be positive. And I think to this day I cherish the memories of those conversations that I've had with my parents about how to look at life. So that is it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
I do think you must have done something good in your past life that you were born into this family. And I think Boston has done something good that you chose Boston as its location to be a teacher here, to contribute as a musician. And we are truly blessed. I know that I speak for the entire community when I say that, again, I'm still not over the fact that you said you're not a natural musician because I think you're a brilliant musician. So, you're inspiration for everybody. And I sincerely thank you. I know that of course, you miss your father a lot, but the entire Carnatic music community, we all are certainly going to miss him because I think he had a lot more to give. And I think I know that nobody is for here forever, but I think we lost him a little too soon. So we will miss him, but thank God that we have the recordings and we will cherish his memory forever. And I'm glad we have you to see as they say, we will see him in your eyes and in your voice. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Aparna. Namaste.
Thank you, Ranjini. Namaste.